Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Alien Resurrection, released in 1997 and the final installment of the original Alien series. While Alien 3 was kind of a mess because of poorly executed ideas, Resurrection's problems start from the ground up. The whole tone of the movie feels off, stemming from both a script written by Joss Whedon and the direction of quirky French filmmaker Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who would later go on to do Amélie, which is a great movie. But between all the snappy one-liners and music video aesthetic, it's hard to take this movie seriously. Plus, it practically ruins the Ripley character, and that xeno-human hybrid at the end? Well, actually, I kinda like how balls crazy that thing is, so I'm not gonna bitch about that. Taking place 200 friggin' years after Alien 3, Resurrection follows a clone of Ellen Ripley, now infused with xenomorph powers, as she finds herself in the middle of yet another alien adventure. This alien outing features space mercenaries, crazy scientists, and swimming aliens, so let's just jump the fuck in and get to the kills. The movie begins on the Auriga, a research spaceship of the United Systems military. We see a nasty-looking clone slug of Ripley, while her voice gives a short narration that compares scientists to monsters. One of these science monsters is Gettyman, played by occasional Tommy Wiseau impersonator Brad Dourif, and he slits the clone torso open and surgically removes the baby chest burster. He puts the C-section burster in one of those bank drive-through tubes, and then gets permission from lead scientist Ren to keep the Ripley clone alive for further study. Everybody wins! Except maybe prisoner/science experiment Ripley clone. She wakes up later in style, sporting the hottest new bag fashion and some fresh new ink, the number 8 on her wrist. And it looks like she's got both style and substance, and she's an A+ student too.
As in completely off our projected charts.
Apparently her cells got some xenomorph genes mixed in with them, giving her super strength and the ability to remember things from real Ripley's past life. None of this is good news for the commander of the Auriga, General Perez, who's such a cartoon of a character that he's probably got Judge Doom chasing after him. He's concerned that a resurrected Ripley will get straight back to her fave hobby, trying to kill aliens. Aliens like the new specimen they've grown from that chest burster, another alien queen bitch. The scientists convince Perez to let them keep Ripley alive for study, and after Gettyman tells Ripley 8 about the alien queen, the clone comes to a quick conclusion.
She'll breed. You'll die.
Ren enters as Ripley 8 asks about the company, and he informs her that Weyland-Yutani doesn't exist anymore. In fact, the special edition mentions that it was bought out by Walmart. And honestly, getting rid of Weyland-Yutani is another problem for me here. Why undercut the shadowy villain you've built up for 3 movies? Ren assures Ripley 8 the USM will house train the aliens and use their research for good, but we all know that's a bunch of horseshit. Headed towards the Auriga is a group of mercenaries aboard the Whoa, Space Betty, bam-a-lam. It's a crew of 6. Leading them is Captain Elgin, who sounds like he gargles gravel every morning.
Don't cut thrust till about 600 meters and we'll give him a little scare.
He's romantically involved with the pilot, Hillard, whose character development stops right there. Christie is the guy with some pretty sweet cufflink pistols, and he's second in command on the ship. Head mechanic Vreeze is a paraplegic who doesn't feel anything in his legs, which gun-for-hire Joner, played by Ron Perlman, goes at lengths to make fun of, all while acting like a monkey. What you doing, Ron? His monkeying around bothers Call, another mechanic played by Winona Ryder, who only recently joined the Betty band. The Betty boards the Auriga in some great-looking effect shots, and they make their entrance, looking back on the track for a little green bag. Perez meets with Elgin, where they have themselves some laser liquor, and Perez slides Elgin a fat stack of cash. It's payment for the cargo the Betty brought, a bunch of people asleep in cryo chambers. See, the USM scientists are gonna wake these folk up and give them a continental breakfast, but the only thing on the menu is xeno eggs, facehugger side up. The eggs have a synchronized birthing session and get real nasty runny as the captives wake up and scream in terror. After that is the infamous basketball scene, where Ripley 8 gets hit on by Joner before bouncing a ball into his balls like a baller. And now we get to see the full picture of the clone's powers. Her physical strength is shown when she takes a weight plate to the face and kicks everyone's ass real easily. Her acid blood is revealed when it dissolves a bit of the floor. And her Harlem Globetrotting skills are proven on her way out the door.
The hell are you?
Fun fact, that shot was really made by Sigourney Weaver, although contrary to urban legend, it was not done in one attempt, more like dozens. Ripley's performance and the mention of her name makes Call perk up, and then Gettyman wraps up the scene teasing the eventual crossover series.
Something of a predator, isn't she?
He heads to his merry-go-round of xenomorphs and selects one of the holding cells to examine more closely. And by examine more closely, I mean act like an undisciplined child at the zoo. He and the alien end up making fuck-me eyes at each other until the alien scares him with a head bite to the glass. In response, Gettyman blasts the alien with some liquid nitrogen, a lesson the alien takes to heart pretty quickly.
We're a fast learner.
Call gets punch drunk and spills Joner's special brew, so he banishes her from the drinking table. It turns out she was just faking being a freshman, and she uses the opportunity to go find Ripley 8 in her prison cell. She goes to kill her, but stops when she sees the incision scar on Ripley 8's chest. Apparently, Call is familiar with Ripley and the whole parasite situation.
You mean my baby?
Yeah, Ripley, we mean your nasty alien baby. Ripley 8 then tries to play the knife game, but I think you're doing it wrong. When Call asks what she is, Ripley 8 says she's Ellen Ripley, but Call ain't buying it.
Ellen Ripley died 200 years ago. You're not her.
I'm not her.
She is not her. Ellen Ripley's whole appeal was how relatable she was. Ripley 8's not relatable at all. She's just a cocky, shifty weirdo who's into touching faces. After Call gets away from creepin' Ripley, she's apprehended by Ren and the USM. They round up the others in the mess hall, minus Vreeze, and tell them they're all about to die for Call's, quote, terrorist activities. Don't know why they don't just, kill them then, but instead they give Christie enough time to deploy his Wild Wild West guns and go all Jim West Desperado on these fools. He shoots 5 guards in some music video shots, showing them that they don't want nada, and while he's wiki wilding out on the guards, Joner turns his thermos into a gun and blows a hole through a 6th guard. A 7th guard holds Christie at gunpoint, but in a ridiculous video game bank shot, Christie bounces around off the ceiling for a headshot to wrap up these first 7 kills of the movie. Meanwhile, Gettyman's got an issue of his own when the Xenomorphs figure out a way to freedom. 2 of them team up on a 3rd and headbite it to death until it's lying in a bloody, corrosive mess on the floor of their containment cell. It burns a hole big enough for them to escape through, and when Gettyman foolishly walks over to look inside the hole, he of course gets grabbed and pulled down. When another guard goes to look for Gettyman, an alien appears on the other side of the glass and tongue punches the punish button, spraying the guard down with liquid nitrogen, which freezes him in place. His arm breaks off for a pretty great kill, so thanks for learning how to use those buttons, aliens. Behavioralism works. Paul tries to explain the alien threat to the Betty crew, but an alarm goes off and interrupts her. General Perez wakes up in a cartoonish way and shows off his cartoonish shoulder hair, then yells at his crew to get aboard the ship's evacuation pods. Looks like these things fit 6 grunts apiece, and one of them manages to get away successfully. But while they're loading the last one, an alien climbs up the side of it and slides into it like it's a DM, where it then proceeds to murder the occupants with some bloody splashes against the window and a shot reminiscent of Jurassic Park when it pulls down a dude trying to escape. Perez takes a grenade and bowls it like he's fucking Fred Flintstone, and it yabba dabba drops into the pod right before it takes off. Then Perez cartoonishly presses the detonator to destroy it, killing the alien inside. My kill count doesn't include aliens, but it will include cartoon characters, I guess, since after Perez realizes there's an alien behind him and is all like, oh gosh, he gets killed by a headbite to the back of the head, and he's going on the list. At least this is a fun take on this classic kill, since Perez has enough time to reach behind him and pull out a piece of brain from the wound. Fun stuff. Elsewhere, the Betty crew is wandering around, and Elgin inexplicably separates himself from the rest of the group, maybe to go practice being handsome. He finds a sticky icky gun, and then a claw from below breaks the grate he's standing on, causing him to fall into the floor. An alien comes up behind him underground and kills him with a headbite through the back. That's still a headbite, right? Since it's coming from the alien's head? I don't know, man. The Betty crew finds Elgin, but are forced to run away when the alien steps out and starts chasing them. But then the alien is turned back by a scent or something. Turns out it's the smell of gun muzzle. One shot later and there's a hole in that alien's head, and out from the ground comes a leather-bound Ripley 8. She escaped her holding cell earlier when she used her acid blood to trip some wires and open a conveniently Ripley-sized wall panel in her room. Now she's in the center of action again, and she's got some awful Joss Whedon lines to spout off.
Who do I have to fuck to get off this boat?
Hey, Resurrection, why you gotta ruin Ripley? She's trying to get off in such a hurry because Ren admits to there being 12 more aliens aboard the ship. Despite Call's concerns that Ripley might be playing for Team Alien, Christie insists that everyone there stick together to get off the ship successfully. That includes the one USM grunt they spared, a guy named DiStefano, who's played by Raymond Cruz, aka Tuco fucking Salamanca. An elevator door opens up to reveal Vreeze, so they all have a happy reunion with him. Then Ripley notes that the ship is moving. Turns out the emergency procedure for the Auriga is to autopilot back to home base, Earth, which apparently isn't a popular destination these days.
Earth, man. What a shithole.
To spare the planet of an alien infestation, Call says they need to blow up the ship, but Christie gets all pissed and says not as long as they're on it. Yeah, dude, obviously do it after you get off. Why you gotta be so pissed all the time? On their way back to the dock to escape in the Betty, Ripley 8 finds a door very helpfully marked 1 through 7. She walks inside to find something straight out of Jessica Lange's Cabinet of Curiosities. It's all the USM's failed attempts to clone Ripley and the Queen Alien embryo, most of which are grotesque Hellraiser-looking monsters. She finds one of the cloned attempts still alive on life support, and when it asks Ripley 8 to kill her, the Alpha clone complies, torching that one as well as all the other test tube babies in the room. I've decided not to include these on the kill count because I feel like that's getting messy, so we'll just stick to fully formed humans and synthetics for now. I don't know what route they're taking to get to the dock, but apparently it goes through the room where all those captives were getting face hugged. We see 5 dead bodies here with holes in their chests, obviously victims of Chesty the Chestburster's extended family. So that's another 5 that go up on the list. Ripley finds a 6th dude, but it turns out he's alive. He's an overacted character named Purvis, who really feels like one of those NPCs in a game that you wind up failing the mission over after you kill them for being so annoying. Looking at you, Boris from GoldenEye. Purvis doesn't pass Ripley's smell test since she announces he has one of them inside him.
What's in fucking inside me?
chill. Ripley tells him, and the group decides to take him along and freeze him on the Betty, with the hope that doctors can fix him in the future after they unfreeze him. You know, the old Walt Disney special. When the route takes him to a big ladder, Breeze ditches his chair and straps onto Christie's back for a little reverse Master Blaster action. The ship is flooding with water from cooling tanks, possibly something the aliens did, which is a ridiculous thing to think about. But actually, it's okay, because when Ren tells them they have to swim through the kitchen to get to a freight elevator, it begins the coolest sequence in the movie, hands down. All of them dive in and start swimming. Although Ripley's got some questionable form going on there, looking like a little puppy mermaid or something. Fun fact, these actors all trained for weeks to be able to do this for real. That's actually them swimming, and I think that's freaking awesome. A couple of aliens went in on the fun too, though, and they start swimming after the group in a real terrifying manner. Jonah is able to fire his thermos gun underwater, and he blows one of the aliens up with it, but the other alien keeps up its pursuit and eventually catches up with Hillard. It grabs her foot and pulls her back into the water, where she presumably drowns and or gets bitten by the xenomorph for our 20-second kill. Everyone else makes it to the other side, but turns out someone left the pool cover on, so they're not able to surface at first. When they finally break on through to the other side, they find themselves surrounded by a bunch of alien eggs that immediately start hatching facehuggers, one of which pounces onto Ripley and sinks her down into the water. The rest of the humans dive under again to avoid the same fate, and Christie uses a grenade launcher to launch a couple of nades near the eggs. They blow up like a bazillion frickin' times. Are all these explosions from 2 grenades? Is it the same explosions from different angles? Who knows? Ripley bites the facehugger off, and everyone gets out of the pool to start climbing up the ladder in the freight elevator shaft. At the top, Ren has some problems opening a door, so he gets Call's gun from her and promptly shoots her in the tummy. She does a high dive belly flop into the pool below, where she sinks to the bottom like the Nevermind baby. Ren makes his mustache twirling getaway and locks the door behind him, leaving the rest of the group to deal with the xenomorph that jumps out of the water and starts pursuing them up the ladder. The alien is able to spray some acid into Christie's face, which starts melting and is a real problem for both him and Breeze, who's still strapped onto his back. They swap places as the alien grabs Christie's foot and tries to pull him down.
Get off my foot, bitch!
Donor pulls a real Tomb Raider looking move and ends up shooting the alien in the head, so it dies with a big explosion. And because the only good bug is a dead bug, he also shoots a spider that spooked him on the ladder. But the alien corpse just won't let go of Christie's foot, and instead of just shaking it off, he unstraps himself from Breeze's back and falls to his presumable death, probably drowning or whatever. Honestly, seems like the dude just kind of gave up there. The door they're locked out of finally opens for them because it turns out Winona Ryder got a call back, and she's here to save the day. DiStefano assumes she survived via body armor, but Ripley 8 investigates further and finds out that Call isn't a person, she's a goddamn robot. A second-gen robot, meaning she's a robot who was designed by goddamn robots. The Autons, as they're called, rebelled against Weyland-Yutani and then went into hiding. DiStefano gets fucking pumped about it, like he's selling meth in a junkyard.
Man, I never thought that I would see one.
Call sticks a wire from the ship into her arm and starts reading out the ship's diagnostics. She can't make the ship self-destruct anymore because they don't have enough energy left, so instead they set a course for the ship to just crash into Earth? Seems a bit irresponsible to crash a ship into Earth, but hey, what do I know? I just live here. Ripley 8 directs her to do a bunch of other things, like clear a path to the Betty and remote start the ship, all while Jean-Pierre Jeanette shines a ring light directly into Winona Ryder's eyes. When Ripley 8 helps patch her up, Call makes clear she's got some people envy going on.
At least there's a part of you that's human. I'm just... Look at me. I'm disgusting.
Girl, you need some self-love. They're not far from the dock when Ripley 8 decides she needs to get weird with the floor grate, and then she's pulled down beneath it. She crowd surfs a sea of Xeno, but she ends up sliding down, so Call and Purvis leave her and just pray for a quick death. As the Auriga approaches Earth, the crew gets back on the Betty, but before they're able to put Purvis to cryobed, he gets shot in the chest by Ren, who then takes Call hostage. While Ren delivers an evil monologue, Purvis starts to show, and then he charges at Ren like a zombie. I don't know when chestbursters began giving their hosts superpowers, but Purvis survives a whole bunch of bullets and then beats the crap out of Ren. I just want to stress how stupid this is to me. However, I can almost forgive the whole mess because of the kills it gives us. Purvis gives a death yell that reaches the chest burster inside him, which then pops out of his chest and through Ren's head, giving us a chest-bursting, head-biting twofer. Definitely a highlight of this movie. To make sure everyone in that bloody threesome is dead for sure, the others all unload on them close range. Hey look, Getterman is still alive, apparently having been reserved by the aliens for, like, energy? There's also a few Auriga crew members in the chamber with him, who I think we can add to the list. I see 3? Let's call it 3, although it is kind of hard to tell. Gettyman tells Ripley 8 that the alien queen has also absorbed some human DNA and has created a more perfect union of cells, because she has a human reproductive system now. I don't know how much of an upgrade that is. I think most women I know would rather lay a few eggs than go through, go through this. But go through it she does, and out pops this monstrous abomination known as the newborn. He's got human DNA, he's got Xeno DNA, and he is one bad, ugly dude. He also has a bit of a temper tantrum, since he straight up punches Alien Queen's jaw off. I guess he's a bigger fan of his people side. The newborn turns to Ripley 8 and appears to have a fondness for her, licking her up and down with affection. Pretty gross, but I take it over what the newborn does to Gettyman, who he approaches and snaps at, literally biting off the top of his head. It's an awesome kill for an awesomely creepy character. As the mechanics inexpertly start the Betty up to pilot her off the Auriga, Ripley 8 manages to escape the nursery down there and run her way to the ship, where she jumps across a chasm to get aboard. Sounds like the perfect time for a snappy Joss Whedon line.
I thought you were dead.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
No, you don't. You've been alive for like a day. Who would have told you that? Ripley 8 takes over the controls, but apparently something is wrong with the ship. Call checks on it since she's a paranoid android, and she finds out the problem is the newborn, who somehow made his way onto the Betty in a mimicry of the final sequences in the first two movies. He helpfully shuts the cargo door for them at least, so Ripley 8 manages to pilot the Betty out of the Auriga. After Call rolls her way into a hiding spot away from the inquisitive newborn, DeStefano comes around to check on her. He instead finds the newborn, who grabs him with his giant hands and straight up crushes his head for the 30th kill of the movie. Tight, 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 yeah! Ripley 8 then goes to the back to see what's going on, and she finds her grandbaby fondling Call's face. Guess he takes after his creepy grandma. At least Ripley 8 will probably have an awesome line here, calling back to the famous quote in Aliens, right?
Put it down!
Or it could be not awesome at all. Cool. Ripley 8 shows the newborn how creepy face touching is really done, and they just, I don't know, man, they just kind of rub faces against each other for a while. This is making me very uncomfortable. She puts an end to, whatever this is, by taking some blood from her hand and whipping it onto a space window. A hole burns through and some violent decompression starts, which pulls the newborn up against the breach. It howls in pain at the prolapse it's experiencing and struggles to get away from it. But eventually, the suction is too much and the newborn gets pulled through the hole little by little inside out. It's a pretty cool sequence, although the CGI guts in space aren't great, but all the practical stuff inside the ship is fucking gruesome and gross in the best of ways. Ripley cries as she watches it all end with the big finale via the newborn's skull breaking apart through the window. Hell yeah. The newborn's not the only one having a space accident, since the Auriga continues on its collision course with Earth. A speaker system on the ship counts down until the impact, which kills the xenomorphs on board with a giant nuclear explosion. I've read that this crash was in an uninhabited part of Africa, but you know what? I think that's just what Call tells herself to be able to sleep at night. Finally, the Betty is able to break through Earth's atmosphere, which gives Call and Ripley 8 a nice view out the window. Joner celebrates by grabbing Vreeze and kissing him, since inappropriate face touching is a theme of this movie, I guess. Call and Ripley look down at Earth, which doesn't look like that much of a shithole to me, and Call wonders aloud what happens next.
I don't know. I'm a stranger here myself.
Yeah, you're a stranger to all of us too, because you're not Ripley, damn it. But while the movie only character assassinated Ripley, it actually assassinated a bunch of other characters. Let's find out how many and get to the numbers. What? You thought this was gonna attack me? It's just a stuffed animal. By my count, 30 humans died in Alien Resurrection, the most of the original series. Hillard and one of the chestburster victims from the Betty were the only women I saw, with the rest of the victims being men, but it's hard to know with some of those group deaths. Resurrection also had the shortest runtime of the series at 109 minutes, so that gives it a kill on average every 3.63 minutes, which is also the most frequent of the series. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to the twofer of Purvis and Ren. I love the combo factor to it. Chest bursting and head biting are the two most iconic ways the xenomorphs kill people. Por qué no los dos? Dual machete for lamest kill will be Christie, simply because I feel like despite the acid to the face, he was doing alright. Guess he just couldn't hang in there. And that's it! Alien Resurrection came out in 1997 and proved to be the end of the original Alien series. Although there were talks of a fifth Alien movie, they got set aside when the Alien vs. Predator movie started happening, which I'm sure I'll get to one day. But next week is December, and that means there's a killer snowman on our horizon with Jack Frost. Until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching my Kill Count for Alien Resurrection. Another series down. How you guys feeling? You guys ready for some Jack Frost and Black Christmas? I hope you enjoyed the Thanksgiving special I gave you. I'll try to do specials when I can. I like doing holiday specials, I just don't always have the time for them. Speaking of which, I got another little bonus video coming for you tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for it. Also, we passed 300K, that's awesome. Hope you had a nice and safe Thanksgiving.